Greetings, Captains. Welcome to another TFO training session. This time we'll cover Khitomer Vortex. Let's review objectives.
Initially, destroy the Borg cube guarding the conduits. Once it is down, attack both gateways. The gateways are protected by generators, which are in turn protected by transformers. Destroy the transformers and generators to make the gateways vulnerable, then destroy the gateways. During this phase, you must also prevent Borg probes from reaching the time vortex. This objective is mandatory on Elite. When the gateways are destroyed, defeat the assimilated warbird and its attendant ships that will arrive to stop you. There is a 10-minute time limit to completing this TFO, which is mandatory on Elite.
Thank you. On to risks and rewards. This TFO needs substantial coordination to play well on Elite, with all optionals and without dying. It is possible to complete in a public group, but a tank is usually needed for a deathless completion, and the time limit objective creates a fairly high DPS threshold compared to the rest of Star Trek Online. If you aren't already parsing over 250k DPS in ISE, we do not recommend you attempt this TFO, especially in a public setting. The enemy threat level is moderately high, as Borg will drain shields and deal a decent amount of damage, and there are many Borg ships, though they are not as clustered as in maps like Hive or Infected. For rewards, this TFO offers a moderate amount of Omega or Fleet Marks, along with a chance for Enchained Current Pieces. Lastly, this operation's duration is variable. While it is not time-gated, there are a large number of high hit point enemies, so while we could complete it in under 5 minutes, including the briefing, that was with at least 2 1 million DPS ships, a 500k heavy tank, and 2 other DPS ships above 500k on ISE. Your mileage may vary. The adversaries on this operation are Borg. Borg vessels have a powerful shield drain ability, so encounters with them need to account for low shield uptime. There are generally not too many at once, but there are a substantial number of assimilators and cubes to fight, so a tank would be helpful. The key part of this mission is the second stage, where probes from both gateways need to be intercepted before they can reach the time portal. You could simply station one player on goalkeeper duty, but we find that inefficient. Instead, we generally adopt either a 3-2 or 4-1 split. In the case of a 4-1 split, we prefer to have the solo player engage probes but also attack the peripheral Borg structures. This player is preferably in an exotic or projectile build, so that they can attack from long range without damage penalty, and apply large area of effects or damage over time abilities to wear down some of the structures without being in range. If the 1 or 2 players, the weak side players, can even partially whittle down some of the structures without neglecting probes, that will take time pressure off of the team. Lastly, in the warbird stage, avoid approaching within 5 kilometers of Dinatra's warbird, as this will increase the likelihood of her cloaking, which slows down the map and can place time pressure on a lower DPS team. She has a substantial number of hit points. The spheres and probes that spawn in this stage will not beeline for the time portal, so you have some time to defeat them while Dinatra is cloaked. Scatter volley builds are moderately effective on this map, as there are numerous groups of smaller enemies, but the larger targets like gateways, cubes, transformers, and the warbird at the end will prove more difficult. In the first stage, attack the central cube. After it's defeated, pick a side and move to it. If you're with a tank or other teammates, stay near them. If you're with a solo player, we'll illustrate how to fly this map from a solo player perspective in our exotic playthrough of this, assuming your team is doing a 4-1 split, where one player goes to one side and 4 to the other. Be aware that we are showing a very high-end scatter volley build and a full team of high-end builds, all coordinated on Discord, so in unorganized groups, don't expect it to go quite this smoothly. Engage the central transformer, allowing scatter volley to pick off the 2 generators. You'll want to stay far enough back that your firing arc catches both of the nearer generators, while still firing on the transformer. Once they're down, move in closer to destroy the back 2 generators while still targeting the transformer. Keep an eye out for any escaping probes, as Jay does here, pivoting to destroy them before finishing off the central transformer. Finishing off the cubes and assimilators at this point isn't immediately necessary, but will make the gateway fight easier. As a scatter volley build, you'll see some drop off in efficiency when engaging single large targets like the cube. Move to the other side if that transformer is not down, and repeat. Once both transformers are down, it's time for the gateway fight. If you're running a more fragile build, you'll want to be careful here, as scatter volley tends to draw aggro, especially if you're the highest DPS, and the gateway can put out some heat. Here, Jay takes serious damage, but uses engineering fleet and brace for impact, along with self-heals like Energy Refrequencer and the Agent Nerul Doff to tank the gate's fire. You can see here as he flies to the other gateway that he checks his Doff roster to make sure Nerul is still slotted, as that was a little too close to death, even for him. Since Agent Nerul is very expensive, if you don't have access to him already, you might consider the cheaper Dalrel Doff as a substitute. Dalrel is less effective than Agent Nerul, but is much cheaper to acquire on the exchange since he's from a lockbox, rather than being locked to a single expensive C-Store pack. If the other side isn't done with their gateway yet, once the one you initially attacked goes down, make all possible speed over there and help them finish it off. Remember that this map has a hard time limit, so you'll want to keep things moving. Jay arrives just as the second transformer goes down, allowing him to turn his fire on all the clumped probes before attacking the gateway. Make sure you destroy any remaining probes as it goes down, as their escape can still fail the mission. When the gateways are down, the assimilated scimitar will arrive, and that will be your primary target. Don't be surprised if she cloaks a few times, going invisible and untargetable. While she's hidden, engage the spheres and probes that will be summoned to join her. But Denatra is the focus when she returns. Try to stay more than 5 kilometers away from her, as she will cloak more often if approached, but sometimes it can't be helped. You'll also want to avoid the green Thaleron radiation pulse cone if she activates it. With this team, we finish her off after only a single cloak, but again, this isn't what you'd expect from a typical random group. Finish off any straggling probes and spheres to complete the TFO. Captain, if this breakdown helped you in your quest to play Stowe better, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. The link to the specific build used for this tutorial is in the description. For more guides and builds, check us out at www.stobetter.com.